There are different ways to communicate, but what are the 4 types of verbal communication? Let's talk about it. Did you know that there's one way to communicate that always works, while the other 3 might cause you problems? What does it mean to be assertive? Oftentimes that's misunderstood. I'm going to show you why assertiveness is always healthy and always a good way to communicate. Communication can be hard. A lot of couples, they get married and they just suck at communicating. They don't know what to do. That's why therapy can be so helpful. I help couples all the time shift the patterns of communication that they've been having in their relationship and start to communicate effectively. I'm going to tell you a story and I want you to think, is this healthy communication or is this unhealthy communication? So my brother and I, we got in a little disagreement. He was mad at me for some reason. This was years ago. I can't even remember why. So I went in, I needed to take a shower. I got out of the shower and I put my underwear on and he had rubbed icy hot all over the inside of my underwear. And it hurt. He got my attention. Healthy communication, unhealthy communication. He wasn't very verbal. He wasn't very vulnerable either in communicating to me. It just hurt me. That's unhealthy communication. So there's 4 different types of communication. First, let's talk about the 3 that aren't very healthy, and then we'll talk about the 1 that is. First, aggressive communication. Aggressive communication is attacking. It's calling names. It's raising your voice. It's getting really nasty at the other person. Now, the intent behind an aggressive communicator is them trying to get their way. They want to force the other person into doing something and they're trying to control them. That's what aggressive communication is. The opposite of aggressive communication is passive communication. And what that is when somebody just avoids the uncomfortable stuff. They don't like conflict. So although they have feelings, they have truths, they have things they want to say, they oftentimes just shut up and smile. Or they don't step into the room if there's an uncomfortable topic. Or if an uncomfortable topic comes up, they distract and they avoid it at all costs because they can't handle it. A passive communicator can't handle uncomfortableness. So their goal is to avoid vulnerability. That's what a passive communicator is doing. The third way to communicate, and a way too popular way to communicate, is called passive-aggressive communication. Passive-aggressive communication is both bringing in the aggression, but doing it in a passive way. And it's subtle and it's tricky and it happens everywhere. When you understand what passive-aggressive communication is, you'll notice it at the grocery store. You'll notice it between your siblings and your family members and your spouse. Here's some examples of passive-aggressive communication. Sarcasm can be a passive-aggressive way to communicate. I'm gonna kind of joke with you, but I'm gonna throw some truth in there at the same time and attack you, but do it in a joking way. That's passive-aggressive. Keyboard courage. That's passive-aggressive communication. I see it all the time with the couples that I work with. They can't have a hard conversation in person. They can't look each other in the eye and talk about who they are and how they feel. What they do is they send these long text messages about all the issues that they're having. Or they'll write a long email because somehow, some way, if it's written in email, then they can say it. They're saying hard, mean, difficult things, but they're doing it in a very passive way. My brother's communication to me was passive aggressiveness. He was very aggressive. He was attacking me. He was hurting me. But he couldn't do it in an assertive way. He couldn't do it in a vulnerable way. He was passively hurting me. That's passive aggressive behavior and passive aggressive communication. So let's talk about what works. What works is assertive communication. Now, when we think of assertiveness, oftentimes we think of aggressiveness. They're different. Aggressiveness is pushing your agenda. Assertiveness is stepping into the situation and doing what needs to be done in that situation. It's being mindful of what needs to be done, and it's speaking up. It's being honest. It's being open about how you're feeling, what you see, what you need, and who you are. Being assertive is not being aggressive. Being assertive is being honest. It's being open. If you bring 2 assertive people to the table, they'll actually appreciate each other's honesty and openness, and they won't bowl each other over. They won't get overly aggressive. I'm going to break down the attributes of an assertive communicator. But before I do, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. An assertive communicator is direct. They can speak directly about how they feel, what they need, and what they want. An assertive communicator is honest. They tell you exactly where they're at, what they need, and how they feel. They don't passively back away or aggressively try to force what they want. An assertive communicator doesn't over-apologize for what they're asking for and who they are. They step right into it and they say, this is I, this is who I am, this is what I need. An assertive communicator is open. They're open on a deeper level. They can say, this is how I feel. And because I feel this way, this is what I need. And this is who I am. An assertive communicator is mindful of the moment. They're aware of what's going on around them, and their emotions are grounded in reality. And as they're connected to themselves, they can take those emotions and they can put them into words in a healthy way. And as they put them into words, they speak it openly and honestly and step into their truths. As they do that, the other person can hear them and understand exactly who they are. If you're consistently assertive, that means you're an authentic person. Lastly, an assertive communicator is effective. And why they're effective is because they are heard. A passive-aggressive person, they might get heard, but if they're being passive-aggressive to somebody, that other person doesn't trust them. They don't want to connect back to them. An aggressive person might get their way. They might force their way to happen, but that other person doesn't feel safe. A passive person might avoid conflict, but never get their way. An assertive communicator is effective in getting their needs met, in being heard and connecting to the other person. Maybe you desire more connection in your relationship and you want to figure out how to be an assertive communicator so that you can have more connection. If you want more tips on how to create more connection, check out my other video, How to Get My Husband to Emotionally Connect to Me.